You want your fucking mind blown in 60 fucking seconds or less? Let me give you this. Okay, we've got a scandal in Odessa, Missouri where they have started by telling us they overcharged us back to 2021 rather, and then on an ECA overcharge, which is an over calculation. It's a figure, a miscalculation in the formula for the energy consumption fluctuation for our city utility billing. So the city come out and told us in March of 2026 that they overcharged us $919,000 for our power and our electric for the city. And then they come out and told us it was 1.3 million. So they ended up, people looked at their bills and stuff and found out this ECA charge went back to actually 2019. So fast forward, so I says, they've got all these things. They want to do a waiver. They want to do an opt-in. They're not sure how much they owe everybody. Turns out they're overcharging 40% to the businesses more than they're overcharging for the residents, that the base rate is actually more for the commercial and the industrial side than it is for the residents. Either way, there's state laws that contradict these implementations that they're trying to do to correct these errors. So they've said it's a miscalculation. They've said it's a misinterpretation. They've said it's not a mistake at all. We actually intended on doing that. So they hired an engineering electric person to come in and do a rate study that found that actually the people that were overcharged $919,000 had not been paying enough. And what they needed to do was hike the electric rate another 21%, which is what they're trying to do. And then we recently had an election where we elected a new mayor and alderman, and then we tried to get $45 million for our local rebuild of a elementary school, but that didn't go through because people weren't stupid. And then this lady slandered me on Facebook. So before the slandering even happened, I said, well, this isn't really add up. So I'm going to send some information to the state auditors. And then next thing you know, I'm getting them call me. They're saying, we'll send you the petition. I said, well, what's the calculation? They said, we need 392 signatures. I said, I got this in a bag. So I go out, I work the polls. We have this election. I have a friend, a local business owner. I start getting messages left and right. I start getting messages from individuals, residents, taxpayers, some who've moved, some who are here, some that like to, rope steer and different things and cattle and, things like that. And then next thing you know, I've got a state audit petition. We've got the signatures. I hand deliver them, drive them down to Jeff City. You wouldn't believe me. It's like a conspiracy, only it's true. So there's a collusion, there's a mismanagement of the city government, and then it turns out that we have this corrupt city lawyer called Lauber Municipal Law, and they're representing city governments. They specialize in screwing the taxpayer while protecting the interests of the finance department and the treasury of the city governments. So anyways, that's a whole nother thing. We need a lawyer that will actually sue these people who specialize in going after law firms who actually specialize in protecting the interests of city government. So then, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but then it gets even better. So I drive to Jefferson City. It's like a 2-hour drive. I take the 494 signatures, which we collected at 2 polls on election day. Great, okay? We drive them down to Jeff City, turn it into the state auditor's office. First of all, they said, like my wife reminded me a minute ago, the state auditor's office says, hey, this kind of stuff is happening all over the place. This is actually more common than you think, and they're not supposed to be doing it. So what do? Just like everybody else does. I try to figure out, well, what the fuck is going on here? So I start asking questions. I start getting shut down by the city attorney, by a lot of the local officials. They don't really know what the laws are. Does it match state law? Well, who cares? We just want to try to get out of this. We've got an election coming up. Well, what do we look and see? What do we find when we look at the state audits? What do we find when we look at the internal audits? What do we find when we look at their financials, their capital improvement plans? Turns out all these things, the board minutes, the transcripts from their live videos, all this stuff is on the internet. All of it is traceable, trackable, triple cross-examinable. It doesn't matter how the fuck you say it. They're caught red-handed doing shit that they're not supposed to do. It doesn't match state law. It's out of the city ordinance. They claim that it's a miscalculation, and then some of the board members say, actually, it wasn't a mistake at all. So how do we trust these assholes when they say it's $919,000 and then the next week they say it's $1.3 million? It's a 40% overcharge to the industry and the commercial side of things. How do we know what exactly the calculation is? So fast forward. So next week I find out. So I go to take this stuff to Jeff City. But before I take it to Jefferson City, I have an old guard lady by the name of Lavita or Levita Joyce Heishman, who turns out, come to find out, her husband recently passed away, so she's widowed to a Bill Heishman, who was the owner of a longtime legacy outfit business called LCC Power Sports here in Odessa. Turns out that they actually were rooted out of Liberty, Missouri, but so she thought that she wouldn't take it upon herself to say she did some research and found out that John Lee was actually this character who was in the military, 9th Command, something or other, senior official who was actually involved in a double-decade conspiracy or covered up sexual crimes and theft. And so I'm like, well, what the fuck does this lady think that she can do calling me a fucking all these things when I have a drone business? I'm the chief petitioner, and I'm also the lead investigator at Mo Free Press. So I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy. So people have been messaging me, people, residents, taxpayers, businesses, people who have moved, all asking for legal advice, asking what they should do. I really don't know what to tell people, but I can tell you this. There's something fishy going on, and then here's where we're at now. So it turns out that this lady that slandered me, it's called defamation per se. The stuff she said about me was so heinous. It was so bad that it's deemed that it's automatic damage to my reputation. It's damage to my business. So I send this lady a letter of intent to sue her because, well, she deserves it. You know, there's a little difference between spiritual forgiveness and legal restitution, and she's going to find out how that works. Well, her and her husband have been involved with the city and big business and things like that for a long time, 56 years. So it turns out she went to the Board of Aldermen meeting in April 8th of 2024, 2 months after her husband passed away, and had added a public comment into the public record about how she supported the billing system or had a concern about the billing system, whichever it was. She was speaking on the billing system at the Board of Aldermen meeting. Then she went on, she made 3 points. The billing system was one, support for the local police department was the next, and then she made a mention of adding security cameras and things like that for businesses, things like that. Next thing you know, the Board of Aldermen moves for a vote for 6-0 majority vote for changes in business incentives. Boy, isn't that funny. That's funny how that works, because even though that was 2 years ago, fast forward 2 years to April 11th and April 13th. So we get the state audit petition signatures. We hand deliver them to Jefferson City. It's a 2-hour drive. Now we're getting slandered right in the middle of our 10-day withdrawal period. And this individual, I come to find out, she is Facebook friends with Kathy Tompkins, and her name is Joyce Heishman. Kathy Tompkins are finance director for the city of Odessa. And this is in Missouri. This is not Texas. This is not Ukraine. So don't get it confused. But I'm just trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with this lady. So you won't believe me when I tell you. First, I actually sent her certified return mail receipt. You know, I'm like, hey, you can't do this to me. But check this out. There's a public community page group where one of the admins calls her out. She says, hey, this has been brought to my attention. This is foul. This lady needs to come out. If she wants to have some honor and some dignity, she needs to make a public apology to this guy, Mr. John Lee. This is crazy. It's slander. It's defaming, and it totally impacts him. So anyways, comments go all day long. And then she finally comes out by pressure and shame throughout the community page, and she actually says, I'm sorry. This is stuff that wasn't true. I shouldn't have posted it, and I'm sorry to Mr. John Lee, which was buried in the comments. So it wasn't really a legitimate, public apology. It doesn't make things right. I told her, I forgive you. We moved on. At least that's what we thought, until I found out, hey, you know what? That's not legal restitution, and that doesn't fix the damage to my business. That doesn't fix the damage to the accusations to my name and our community. I'm a taxpayer. We bought our home here. We're raising our kids here. So you know what? Screw her. So, you know what? I sent her a something in the mail, and then she did. She's like, refused to pick it up. I sent it. Showed up that she's been hasn't gone and picked it up from the post office since last Thursday. It's the following Monday, so I actually sent her another letter. First class mail. Had my wife take it up there, do the deal. Form 3819, 3817, whatever it is. Who cares, right? It's like, who does this old lady think she is? She can sit there and talk all this shit. She can slander my name because she's part of the old guard. Well, I got news for you, lady. I've been making this all transparent. I've been making all of this come to light. And today, I just happened to have a 4-pack with my wife with some pink Moscato, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I'm going to make this video, and I'm going to tell it like it is. So that's the story from the beginning to the end. Tomorrow, April 22nd, This is Odessa, Missouri. That's the cutoff for the withdrawal period for the petition of your signatures. And I hope that this state audit comes in and it finds the truth, and it finds the corruption, and it sees, because I've already given this information to them. That's the funny thing, is the chief petitioner. You know, I have a direct contact with the Missouri State Auditor's Office, and I'm turning in and handing over all the information. And what I can't even emphasize enough to you guys right now is the fact that I've gotten so much hate mail. I've gotten so many people that are just pissed. People that are connected through people, through family, through generational jobs, through the city, and through friends and family. And I finally said, I don't care who your friends or family, I don't care who your legal counsel is, because that's a whole nother topic. The legal counsel for our city has actually been, you know, making these types of legal advice decisions. And recently, if you'll check the March 25th minutes, Board of Aldermen minutes, you'll see how our board voted 6-0 or maybe 5-1, where they gave unusual power to our city attorney, who is also our prosecutor. It's Lauber Municipal Law, the authority to make decisions when it comes to how we get our credits for this ECA overcharge, which is, I mention again, we've failed consecutively our internal audits for over 5 years in a row. And we also have a discrepancy on the amounts. We also have a discrepancy about whether or not they're actually matching state law, and whether or not they're paying the 9% interest that they're supposed to. So this is a shady deal all around. The fact that the lady that tried to slander me right in the middle of being the chief petitioner and trying to turn in these audits and get the state to, you know, trying to just absolutely destroy my character, destroy my business, destroy my way of making a living, this has all got to come to light. This has all got to change. And I'm Mr. John Lee. If you like videos like these, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and, you know, ring the bell for notifications, because I guarantee you this is going to go somewhere. I'm on to the next one.